Somewhere out there, someone is having this exact thought right now. The government owes trillions in debt. It owns the printing press. So why not just print more and pay it off? It sounds so simple it's almost suspicious nobody's tried it. After all, it's just paper. Or these days, just numbers on a screen. If the government controls the printing press, why not lean on it a little harder? Pay off the debt. Fund healthcare. Hand everyone a bonus. Just print it. It feels like a cheat code sitting right there, untouched. So why doesn't any country just do it? The honest answer isn't a law or a conspiracy. It's something stranger, what money actually is. Picture money not as wealth itself, but as a ticket. A ticket that lets you claim a slice of everything the economy actually makes. Food, houses, phones, haircuts, flights. The real wealth was never the ticket. It's the stuff the ticket lets you take home. Print 100 more tickets tonight, and tomorrow morning the stuff hasn't multiplied. Same bread, same houses, same haircuts. You just handed out more claims on the exact same pile. And that's the part that breaks the fantasy. More tickets doesn't mean more stuff. It means each ticket is worth a smaller slice. Let's make it concrete. Picture the tiniest possible economy. Just you, your neighbors, and one crop, corn. You earn $100 a month. Corn costs $1 a pound. So you can buy 100 pounds of corn. Now imagine the government mails everyone an extra $100 out of nowhere. For a second, it feels incredible. Free money. But here's the catch. The amount of corn in the field hasn't changed by a single stalk. Everyone in town has more dollars chasing the exact same corn. So the farmer does the obvious thing. He raises the price. Corn jumps from $1 a pound to $1.50 a pound. You now have $200 in your pocket instead of $100. Should feel twice as rich. But at $1.50 a pound, $200 only buys about 133 pounds of corn, not 200. Your dollar count doubled. Your actual corn barely budged. That gap, between more money and more stuff, is the entire trick nobody can escape. Economists have a blunt little formula for this. Money supply times how fast it changes hands equals prices times everything actually produced. In plain English, if people spend money at roughly the same pace and the economy makes roughly the same amount of stuff, then pumping in more money can only do one thing: push prices up. More money was never the same thing as more real output. That's the whole misunderstanding, dressed up in an equation. So if a government tried to print its way out of debt, what actually happens to the people it owes money to? Say you lent the government $1,000 years ago. They pay you back in dollars that now buy a lot less. You got your money back. You didn't get your money's worth back. Economists have a name for this quiet con: the inflation tax. Nobody takes a cent from your account. Your savings just buy less. It's a default that never has to admit it's a default. This is exactly why most modern economies keep the printing press out of the elected government's hands entirely. An independent central bank controls money creation specifically so politicians can't lean on it every time an election gets close. The limit was never really can we physically print enough. It's can we do this without torching what the currency is worth. History has already run this experiment to its worst possible ending. Twice, in living memory. First stop, Germany, in the early 1920s. World War I had already been paid for largely by printing money instead of raising taxes. By the time the war ended, the amount of money in circulation had already multiplied 5 times over. Then came the reparations bill, 132 billion gold marks, owed to the winners of the war. Germany didn't have that kind of gold. What it had was a printing press. In January 1923, French and Belgian troops marched into the Ruhr Valley to seize the payments directly. German workers responded with a general strike. The government, desperate to support them, paid their wages anyway. There was only one way to pay wages with no tax revenue coming in: fire up the presses. By 1923, Germany had roughly 300 paper mills and 2,000 printing shops running for one job: making banknotes. And still, the presses couldn't keep up. Prices were rising faster than new bills could roll off the line. In mid-1922, a US dollar cost about 320 marks. By January 1923, that same dollar cost 17,000 marks. By July 1923, 353,000 marks. By December 1923, over 4 trillion marks to a single dollar. A currency doesn't just weaken like that. It disintegrates. People carried their wages home in wheelbarrows, not wallets. One student later remembered ordering a coffee for 5,000 marks, and by the time it arrived, the price on the menu had already climbed to 7,000. Prices were doubling roughly every 2 days at the peak. Banknotes became worth less than the paper they were printed on. People burned them for heat. Children stacked them like building blocks. That wheelbarrow of cash people joked about? By some accounts, it genuinely couldn't buy a single newspaper. It took a new currency to stop the bleeding, the Rentenmark, introduced in November 1923. 1 trillion old marks were traded in for a single new Rentenmark. The presses finally stopped. Printing money didn't just fail to solve Germany's problem. It became the crisis. Fast forward to the 2000s, and a country on the other side of the planet ran the same experiment. Zimbabwe's government had seized much of its commercial farmland through land reform, and with it, most of its tax base collapsed almost overnight. With less tax coming in but bills still due, including funding a military campaign abroad and importing food to avert famine, the government reached for the printer. By 2006, annual inflation had already passed 1,000%. By January 2008, over 100,000% a year. By May, over 1,000,000%. By November 2008, monthly inflation alone hit an estimated 79.6 billion%. Year over year, prices had risen by roughly 89.7 sextillion%. That's a 23-digit number. The government eventually stopped publishing the inflation figures altogether. There was no good way to say the number out loud. The central bank printed a banknote worth 100 trillion Zimbabwean dollars. It's real. You can buy one online today, as a souvenir. At the peak, that note might have covered a bus fare. Maybe. By late 2008, the Zimbabwean dollar had stopped functioning as money at all. People traded in US dollars and South African rand instead. Two different countries, 85 years apart, reached for the same lever and landed in the same wreckage. Here's the twist, though. Printing money doesn't automatically end this way. That's not the honest lesson. In 2009, after the financial crisis, central banks in the US and Europe printed enormous sums of new money. Runaway inflation, the kind Germany and Zimbabwe saw, never showed up. Because the economy had spare capacity, idle factories, unemployed workers, empty shelves waiting to be restocked. New money flowing into Slack like that doesn't just chase the same stuff. It can help make more stuff. Weimar's real economy was shrinking under military occupation. Zimbabwe's farms had just been gutted. There was no slack left to fill, only fewer goods, chasing more cash. So the honest rule was never printing money is evil. It's printing faster than the economy can actually grow that breaks everything. So back to that original thought, the government owns the printer. Why not just lean on it harder? It could. Nothing stops the machine physically. But leaning on it doesn't create a single extra loaf of bread, house, or hour of someone's labor. It just hands out more claim tickets on the exact same pile and quietly shrinks the value of every ticket already in your pocket. Real wealth was never something a printing press could make. Only people, working, building, and growing things, can do that. Which is exactly why every economy on Earth keeps that machine locked up tighter than almost anything else it owns. Two countries already found out what happens when someone reaches for the key anyway. So next time someone jokes about just printing more money, you'll know exactly why the joke stops being funny the moment anyone actually tries it.